Om Shanti. Good evening. When Baba says something, it's filled with many, many secrets. And the more we reflect on what it is Baba has said, the more we begin to see the different layers contained within that statement. And we are able to take benefit from Baba's versions in a very big way. Otherwise, we hear the Murli and we enjoy it. Baba's words are very soothing and calming. And sometimes they shake us up a little also. But the Murli has been described as music because of its sweetness. But it's not just sweet to listen to. The more we reflect on Baba's words, the more we ourselves are transformed and become sweet. That is the real magic of the Murli. And so when Baba has told us that you souls were originally Satopradhan, and then you came through the cycle and look what happened and see what the condition is in Kali Yuga. But now that you found me, what you have to do is again become Satopradhan. Baba also told us that this is the time to become Satopradhan. Everything works according to the season. And if you try to shift things out of season, then it's hard work and not so natural. But if things are done within the time frame that it's meant to be, within a particular season, then things become very natural and easy. And so Baba, being the loving father that he is, the compassionate parent that he is, constantly is finding different ways to make life easy for us. We've just completed a retreat for the NCCCs on the theme of the easiness of a Raj Yogi. And really that is a fact. And in Hindi it's Sahaj Raj Yoga, easy Raj Yoga. And so when Baba's saying, remember that you were Satopradhan, Baba's making it very easy for us, reminding us of what our original stage was. And this statement is very specifically for the souls of the Golden Age. It's not a statement for souls of even the Silver Age, but the Golden Age. Because by the time you get to the Silver Age, it's Sato, not Satopradhan. Pradhan, the fullness of that higher stage of purity. And then it's Sato without the fullness. It's still pure, but there's a difference. And then you get to Rajopradhan, the middling stage, a mixture. Sometimes good thoughts, good feelings, sometimes other things creep in. And then you get to Tamopradhan. And if we ourselves look at our own lives in Kali Yuga, of course on one level everything is body conscious, we are aware of that. But also how much of it was just ordinary or waste or even downright negative? Well, that's the condition of Kali Yuga. And so here's Baba coming and picking me up out of Kali Yuga, and not only reminding me that I'm a soul, not only reminding me that I belong to him, but also reminding me that I was completely pure. And it's very natural and easy that I should become that once again. If Baba was showing me a high destination that I'd never attempted to go to before, I would look up the mountain and say, how am I going to get there? But Baba says, but this is who you are, this is who you were. And so just sit in stillness, sit in silence in front of Baba, and let Baba carry you through the cycle to that stage of complete purity, the state that you were in Paramdham. I don't know whether you've ever done that as a conscious experiment, to be with Baba and let Baba's Srishti be the magnet that carries you to Paramdham, and there in Paramdham you feel your original, natural, complete state of purity, the Satopradhan state. And once you had a glimpse of that experience, then when you come back down here to do whatever it is you need to do, but that experience stays with you, and the confidence that it gives you is one in which effort becomes very natural and easy. And on the other side, if I'm thinking, well, maybe not, I'm not quite sure if I can reach that state of purity, and, well, okay, I'll give it a year, I'll try it. And yes, maybe within a year, Baba works as magic and you have very powerful experiences. But there's a very different attitude in saying, I'm going to try it for a little while, to the awareness that this is who I am, really, truly, and this is what Baba wants me to be here and now. And to emerge that stage of purity, even as I do whatever I need to do here, and keep that alive, means that I'm totally protected and safe from the vibrations and the influences of Kali Yuga. I read a very interesting it's a very short story, and nowadays people send all sorts of things on WhatsApp. And this actually came to me from someone on WhatsApp. And the story is about how when there's a raindrop that falls from the sky, and if you manage to capture it in your hands, then that raindrop can even be drunk and it'll quench your thirst. And yet, if that same raindrop falls into the gutter, then it's going to be so dirty you won't even want to wash your feet in it. And the same raindrop, if it were to fall onto an oyster, then it would become a pearl. And the story is about association. Who is it you associate with, and what is the influence of that association? And so I let my mind associate with that thought that this is who I was, this is who I am deep down within the original natural state of the soul, and this is, yes, I'm recognizing the state I've reached, but this is what I want to be again. And it's not just me wanting it, but really, truly, it's Baba telling me that this is who I am. And so right from the beginning of effort, yes, I had to come to the awareness of soul, I had to come to the awareness of God, I had to then believe that, yes, I've been through a cycle. So it was steps along the journey of faith. But having come to that understanding, now the faith that, yes, this is who I am. And my thought associating with that state of purity means that I'm influenced in a very powerful way and protected from whatever other influences there may be. Human souls are very susceptible to influence, and it can be not so good, but also it can be very good. And so when I'm in Kali Yuga, what were the influences around me and what happened to me at that time? Well, each one's got their own story, but it's a story of sorrow and pain and negativity. But then Baba finds me, and my connection with Baba, my association with Baba, and my association with the truth that Baba is sharing with me, and my experiment in silence to be able to experience that original state which is mine, allows the journey to become a very natural and easy one. And so, if I hold on to that faith, that belief, that this is who I truly am, a Satopradhan soul, then it means that if there are little dips that come in my effort, for whatever reason, today Baba's Bhog message was very lovely. There'll be times when you can feel that yes, all is well, and then there'll be times when you feel, well, it's an exam, it's a test, but it's okay. The test comes and you pass the test and you've moved on to the next grade. And so it's actually come to carry you forward. If it hadn't come, you wouldn't have been able to move forward to the next stage. And so that stage of the memory being awakened, and Baba uses this expression a lot, I've come to awaken your memory, I've come to remind you of who you are. And so keeping that memory alive, especially when there's a test that's come and the test feels particularly challenging and not so easy, then if I can hold on to that, not just memory is the first step, but beyond just the memory, allowing the feelings associated with that memory to emerge, and that feeling of being completely clean and pure, it's a very lovely experience then of how you respond to situations very differently. This word smriti, awareness, Baba's come to awaken the awareness, and the awareness is very deeply connected with our memories. When a memory comes, it usually brings with itself a flood of feelings. The good feelings of good memories and feelings that are maybe not so elevated when it's memories that are not so good. And so here's Baba saying, okay, I'm going to teach you how to be selective about your memories. Just imagine how many memories each of us has stored within us. Just wind the tape back for 24 hours. What happened this time yesterday and all the things that have happened in between. It's a huge recording. Sometimes we've had to look through the closed-circuit television cameras to identify something or another when there's been an incident that's happened. And the amount of tape that you have to go through to find something that happened an hour ago or 3 hours ago, it's colossal. And so amazing. Baba says the wonder of nature when Baba's talking about the beauty of the soul. So huge amount of memories and information stored within the soul. But Baba's saying, emerge the beautiful memories, the memory of what it was like when you were completely pure. The feelings that I have for myself when I emerge that memory, how sweet are those feelings? And one of the big issues of today's world, and a big difference between 1930s, when that original group of souls came to Baba and surrendered, and the situation in the world today, if there's one big difference that I identify, many things, but one big one, it's the whole subject of respect. At one point, Daddy had said to me, this would have been in the 80s, we were on a tour with a couple of brothers, and at some point, it was Daddy made herself very light, very available, very easy. We never had to think about treating her like a Daddy in that sense, but she was just with us. But maybe one or two things happened that made her feel that we were becoming a little too familiar. And so we were sitting just chatting, and she said, it wasn't a class or anything, but she's just chatting with us, and she says, I think back to my days of childhood and the way we were able to treat our parents and grandparents with respect. I don't see that happens in the world anymore. And I had to pause for a moment and see, well, could I identify something that we had done or hadn't done? And I think it was a general thing, it wasn't anything specific in that way. But she went on to say that, yes, on the one side it's a question of respect for parents and grandparents and elders generally, but also it's a question of self-respect. And when we were young, we were told about our family, we were told about our background, we were told about expectations for our behavior, but it was put on us that this is part of your own dignity, and you have to come to that understanding of who you are and your place within the world, in a sense, and you'll then behave with that dignity and treat everyone with respect. And of course, on a Lokik level, yes, definitely the world was quite different 80, 90, 100 years ago. But of course, today we have the spiritual understanding of self-respect. And I'm seeing how this statement from Baba, hey soul, remember you were Satopradhan. Let yourself come to that awareness and that feeling, and the dignity that you feel when you accept that, yes, this is who I am. I am a pure Satopradhan soul. The sweetness of love for the self and respect for the self is a very beautiful experience. And in that sweetness, you're able to be very compassionate. Compassionate for the self, everything starting inside. But also, think about how, in terms of Lokik family, alokik family, colleagues at work, if I were to behave with that inner stability, that anchor of dignity and self-respect, what would be the quality of my interaction with those around me? What would be the respect with which I would treat each and every one? And yes, first and foremost, those around me, but even those I don't know, those whom I'm walking past in the street, those who are strangers who meet me wherever it may be. Giving respect just simply through your vibrations, through your drishti. I think it was yesterday that Baba spoke about the power of drishti. And if my drishti is based on that awareness of being Satopradhan and the dignity and respect that I feel for myself, then when I see you, what does my drishti convey? Definitely it will create a feeling of oneness, it will create a feeling of warmth, of security, and it will be sharing compassion. And so, whether it's the ones whom I'm meeting all the time, or whether it's people I meet sometimes, but my drishti is going to show what is the state of the soul. And so, respect for the self, respect for others, and that sweetness of behavior. I'm trying to remember when it was, but there was a statement about, do you feel content? I can't remember in what context it was, but this morning, that's right, it was actually this morning, again in the Borg message, the contentment that I feel when I love myself and respect myself, and the real love and respect for the self doesn't have any ego in it. Narcissism is a subject that's totally different, and it's very self-centered and very selfish, which is a completely different thing to being spiritually centered and aware of who I truly am and my own Satopradhan stage. And in the stage of being Satopradhan and believing in it and feeling it and letting myself stay in that dignity, it's not only going to create compassion, but it's also going to create a state in which I'm able to give. There's nothing I need from you, nothing that I want from you, but whatever I need, whatever I want, Baba has given me. And so no demands being put on you at all. Very often in the interaction that we have with each other, there's an expectation. I'm going to say this. I'm expecting you to say something that's already conditioned in my mind. And if what you're saying isn't quite according to what I had anticipated or I'd expected or wanted, then there's going to be a bit of a gap within our communication and our relationship. And unless I understand what's going on and sort it out very quickly inside myself, it can become a very huge block later on. And so, how often do I use the word misunderstanding? And how come there's misunderstanding? And I see that misunderstandings come from lack of clarity within myself. And yes, you may have misunderstood me, but surely it's my responsibility first and foremost to be completely clear. And if things are clear and clean, then there's less possibility for you to misunderstand. But also if I'm clear and clean, then I'm going to be able to understand what it is you really mean, not just the words that you're using. If you listen in soul consciousness with that clarity and cleanliness that comes from being in that Satopradhan stage, that pure stage, you're not listening to the words that somebody is using. You're actually listening to the feeling and the meaning behind the words. And so communication becomes a much, much sweeter experience than it would have been otherwise. And so the whole subject of who am I? And when Dadi repeats the 3 Om Shantis, and the first one she says is, who am I? Again, there's layers and layers and layers, but within that, who am I? And have I understood that? And so one aspect is this whole question of the recognition of the self in that way. But a second very big issue, and whenever Brahmins meet together and we're able to have deep conversations, one thing that comes out is that there's the whole subject of belonging. And here's a small group of Brahmins, Brahmin family, here's a big group of Brahmins in another center, whichever it may be, it doesn't really matter. Somebody else comes in, and do they feel that they belong? Or do they feel that it's something that it's going to take them time to adjust to and come to terms with? if I'm a soul who's in that situation of being on the periphery, and if I've had the feeling that yes, I am a Satopradhan soul, I'm going to be drawn to the gathering, little one or big one. And as I'm drawn into the gathering, I get the sense that this is my family. There's a very lovely story that Daddy had shared at one point. And she said how she had been in bondage for about a year and a half, seen Baba walking in the park and had just seen the light shining. I knew that Baba had been through a transformation and that this light is the light of God. And then accounts to settle and bondage. And so for a year and a half, she just had opportunity to go sometimes, not often. And then, of course, they moved to Karachi. And there was another woman who was in a similar position, also connected. And the families were close together physically, small city, but also on the level of friendship, not a very big community. And so she met this other person, and she looked into her eyes, and the other one also looked into her eyes, and it was like they connected. And they said, "Do you go to Umandli?" And the other one went. And so, out of a gathering within that room, however many there must have been, but they knew that they belonged to the same clan. Today, are we able to create that atmosphere in which we are able to, just simply through our drishti, awaken the memory in another soul that you belong to this deity clan, you belong to this family of Satyug. And so when new students come, are we able to welcome them with that awareness? And do I allow myself to have that sense of belonging, that this is the family that I belong to? So often we get into the whole thing about role. And if somebody is given service to do, then yes, there's a sense of belonging and community. And if they feel that they haven't been given a role, there isn't something specific they've been asked to do, then again it's very easy to feel that, well, I'm not really part of that circle, part of that group, and many waste thoughts and all sorts of feelings come up which are not very useful. But it's not service that should give me a sense of belonging. It should be my own awareness of who I am that should give me a sense of belonging. Because today maybe there's an opportunity for service, and while it's there, yes, I'll be engaged, I'll be happy. But maybe tomorrow there isn't an opportunity for service. Am I going to allow situations of service or no service to pull me down? And most times we do allow external things to work on us in that way. But if I want to be independent, if I want to be free, all I have to do is to remember who I am and emerge that feeling of Satopradhan, and instantly I'm then part of the deity community. And it's not a question of adapting to clothes and saris and kurtas or anything like that. Yes, people do like to conform, and very quickly, maybe not even out of conforming, but because for me, adopting the sari, the white sari, was a sign of freedom. I didn't have to think about clothes anymore. Really, it was such a liberation. I don't know how many others have felt the same, and I know that many of you do feel that when you're packing to travel, have to think about morning class, have to think about logic programs, it's quite a headache. But the whole thing about belonging, it doesn't actually depend on the color of clothes that you wear. It's a vibration, it's a feeling, it's the sense that you have, your attitude, your body language. I remember very early days in the 70s, there used to be groups coming from the few centers that existed around the world, just a handful of centers. And Didi Manmoini and Dadi used to be very available and be with, if there was a group of 12 that came, that was a big group. Would you believe it? But it just meant that Didi and Dadi and the time that they gave us was just unlimited. But they would say to me that there are some souls and they come very close. And there are other souls who enjoy being in Madhuban, but we can feel that it's as if they're still checking things out, and it's not quite that they're part of the family. And so the shift that happens inside when I have that experience that I am that Satopradhan soul, it means that I'm connecting with others who are also Satopradhan. I belong to this clan, I belong to this family, and this is the family that I'm going to be with through the whole cycle. And so the feeling of coming home is not just a question of seeing Brahma Baba's picture, of feeling the vibrations of a center or the vibrations of Madhuban, but the sense of coming home is connecting with the whole family. And if my connection with the family and my sense of belonging depends on this inner experience, then if there's service, I'm ready to do the service, whatever the need may be. But also, if there isn't service, that's also great, because it gives me time to do the things that I need to do for myself, whether it's study, whether it's yoga, whether it's churning, whether it's writing, many things that I need to do. I was just thinking about it this afternoon. If I didn't have all these emails to read, there's lots of other things I'd like to be reading. And so, whatever service it is that comes your way, but the opportunity, great. And if there isn't, that's also great. But it doesn't make me feel that I don't belong. I'm absolutely part of this family, and there's no other family that I need to go to or look out for. But wherever I go, I'll create a family that also connects with this vibration and has this sense of belonging. There's another thing about Baba saying, "Hey child, did you know that you were a Satopradhan soul?" And Baba's telling me, yes, you are a Satopradhan soul, but when he tells me this, it's a very interesting feeling that I'm with someone who knows me better than I know myself. And if I think about it on a logic level, in childhood, mother and father know more about me than I know about myself. And further down the road, a teacher also knows what it is I'm going to be struggling with as I study a particular subject. They know what are the hurdles that come up, and so they know me more than I know myself. And when you get that sense with a friend that they know you intuitively, they know you almost better than you know yourself, and they can anticipate what you're going to say, they can anticipate what you're going to want, and they're able to support you in that. You feel a great sense of trust. You feel that you're with, whether the mother, the father, the teacher, or the friend, you feel that you're with people who are going to care for you, who look after you, who are going to help you in all situations. And of course, all of that is limit, 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 limit. And there'll be times when you say, well, how come they didn't understand what I really wanted? Or how come they didn't know this? But with Baba, Baba definitely knows me better than I know myself. And Baba very definitely knows not just me as I am now, but Baba knows me and my journey through the whole cycle. It's a very wonderful feeling to know that Baba knows me so well. And because Baba knows me so well, and there's nothing that Baba wants from me at all, and so knowing me means that Baba wants to help me go through whatever it is he knows I'm going to go through. You know, when you hear the Sakar Murlis and you hear that people who've been in Gyan 20 years or however long, 10 years, they still can turn their face away and go off in another direction. Or Baba talks about the huge challenges that Maya's going to bring. Then early days, most people usually feel, well, that's got nothing to do with me. I don't know who Baba's talking about. And anyway, you don't know the people Baba's talking about. But also you don't think that it applies to you. But Baba knows me better than I know myself. And when Baba's speaking, he's not just speaking about 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. He's actually telling us, these are the milestones that you're going to have to cross on this journey. And so Baba's preparing me ahead of time, warning me that yes, all the sanskars are going to come up. I'm not sure whether it's a question of just age. I don't think it is. And I'm saying this because coming to Baba age 19, and I really had no idea of my sanskars. No idea. And then if I had been in Lokik life, or I see others in Lokik life who in those early days in London, somehow everyone who came was just in their teens and 20s. And then we had 2 sisters who were both in their 40s who came. Just 2. And a whole bunch of younger people. And the 2 of them would say to me at different times that it's much more difficult for us than it is for all you young ones. And then at other times they would say, well, actually, I can see that my life experience has taught me a lot. And of course, when you're 20, you think that age 40 is very mature. And then when you're actually 40, you realize there's still a lot more to learn. But so, if here's somebody without Gyan, age 40, yes, life experience would have taught them some things, but I don't think it actually gives them an insight into the depth of their personality and sanskars. You know the story of the iceberg. 1/10 is visible and 9/10 is hidden below the surface. So coming to Baba, we don't know our sanskars. And because Baba knows us so well, and he knows not just our intermediate period of sanskars, of the copper age and the iron age, I'm not talking about 1 birth, 2 births, 5 births, but the whole story of the copper and the iron age. But Baba also knows the original sanskars of the soul. And so if I trust Baba, and I say, Baba, yes, you know me better than I know myself, and because of that, I feel very secure in your company. I feel very comfortable because you know not just what my original stage is, but you know what is the journey that I'm going to have to go through to come back to my original sanskars. And you're going to help me and guide me and carry me through all of that. So it's a very warm feeling inside that Baba truly, truly does know me. And not only does Baba know me originally, but Baba's going to help me get there also. So for me, all these have been the huge, huge benefits of accepting this statement and experiencing it. And then the other side, if I don't accept this statement, yes, it's a struggle. I feel that it's a very high destination that maybe I'll never be able to reach. But also, maybe at times when I see others moving through their journey, and it's a reality that everybody has certain challenges that they have to go through. It's not true that we all go through the same challenges. To a certain extent, yes, there's nobody who's free from attachments, but some have a harder time with attachments than others. That's a fact. And so, who doesn't have ego? Everybody's got ego. But for some, it's a more difficult thing to deal with than for others. And so we each have our own Achilles heel and different things that really come to keep testing us or are our weak spots. Just like with physical health, who's got perfect bodies in Kali Yuga? Nobody. But somebody has the eyes, somebody has the throat, different things. But the fact that I'm having to deal with some things and I see somebody else doesn't seem to be stopping anywhere. They're just sailing through. Well, I don't know what it is they're going through. But if I'm struggling with the thought, well, who knows? Maybe I am Satopradhan, maybe I'm not, then it makes me that much less able to go through all those challenges that do come on the journey. And so I feel it's a very beautiful statement that Baba has made. And when Baba says he's the only one who can speak about last kalpa and speak about, yes, this is the same child, this is the same family, this is the same father, and nobody else in the world is going to be able to make that statement. It's come up a few times in the recent Murlis that only Baba can make this sort of statement. It's absolutely a fact. And so, beautiful time to be with Baba, and I hope all of you in the meditation now have this powerful, powerful experience of what it's like to be in Paramdham. I don't want to do a commentary, but just hold that awareness and let Baba carry you to Paramdham so that you feel that. But also, what happens when you come back down from Paramdham? Is it just that when I come back down here, I get caught up in all the things here? Well, it can work differently. If I hold on to that feeling of being Satopradhan, try it as an experiment for even 1 hour. Keep that awareness of that Satopradhan feeling 1 hour after the meditation finishes. Not long, is it? Just an hour. But try holding on to it and see, what is the tone of your voice when you speak? What is the drishti that you have for others? What is your attitude towards others? And so, when we're going to emerge those Satopradhan sanskars, I'm seeing that it's the final chapter, and who knows how long the final chapter is or how many pages the final chapter has. But this is a time when I can experiment, and let me then produce those Satopradhan sanskars so strongly, emerge them so powerfully that they actually manifest in everything that I do. Madhuban is a wonderful experiment house, a laboratory where everybody can join in the same experiment. And so each one, to whatever extent they intend or want, can experiment with this. And I can just imagine you walking out of this auditorium to the dining room, just sharing those vibrations of being Satopradhan. And Madhuban is already powerful, but if everyone here is contributing further to sharing those vibrations, surely Satya can come very, very quickly. Om Shanti.